record. Right, there we go. So we've had 3 weeks profitable. So should load as well. No, it's not going to load, is it? But yeah. So we've had three profitable weeks, which obviously I've been very 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 happy with. This is probably going to be. We've probably got this week and next week to really capitalize. Um, Let's just have a look at the calendar. Sorry. So yeah, 8th to the 12th we got to capitalize on, and the 15th to the 19th. 22nd to the 26th is going to be a bit slower because obviously we've got 24, 25, and 26, which are going to be probably just take those off. And then we've obviously got 29, 30, which will be a little bit slower, but obviously we can trade on those days. Um, and then obviously New Year's Eve, which will take off as well as New Year's Day, but then we'll be back flying. So yeah, we've really got to uh, capitalize over the next kind of two weeks. So then we can make sure December's a good month. Does anyone have any questions or anything that they want to go through to today? Start obviously typing them out. We've obviously had Bitcoin recover a bit today. Like I said, by Christmas, I'm hoping it's at 100. Then I can cash out. Then I might utilize that to go somewhere. So yeah, might do a New Year's Eve trip. I'd love to go to New York actually, but yeah. Oh, and also, I haven't really spoken about the challenge, but congratulations to Ken. So obviously I'm going to be doing that challenge, same this week as what I did, last week. Same risk, I don't want to, over risk and obviously make it a bit unrealistic. And so yeah, I'm going to do the same this week and the same next week. It was really, really good. Turned out made $400, which worked out about 300 pounds, which I'd sent to Ken this morning. So yeah. Right, let's have a look here. So Skid, how far are you looking back in the morning and afternoon analysis? So basically, when I've been doing the recently, I've been doing the majority of my prep work in the morning. All right, so I've been doing basically analyzing, where the dollar is. All right, for example, how it's reacting. It's been very, very tricky. You guys have probably, noticed um, that, you know, um, markets haven't really been, moving crazy. If we look at euro on a daily, it hasn't been doing these crazy kind of moves that we've been used to seeing, especially on the 8 hour, in the afternoons. And yeah, it's been very very kind of steady in it. And if you think we were profitable overall, um and yeah, we're obviously profitable overall from buying, and you can see markets have been sort of slowly ticking down, but as long as you're obviously going through the right or targeting the right kind of overall direction, you're normally okay. And obviously it's about being patient too. I've been really, really patient. Recently, we've obviously been marking everything up and, letting the trades come to us, So probably how far back do I go in the mornings? It's not like too far. I'll, obviously have a look at the overview. I'll go through Twitter. Main things, the dollar really, because you can see here dollar is trending to the downside. One thing that's quite interesting here is we do have a nice consolidation. We still have to treat it, as a downtrend. So I'm expecting to be, selling the dollar tomorrow, and I probably will do unless we kind of break back and then this move here starts. All right, I'm trying to really, simplify everything here, but as long as you know the direction of the pair, all right. So for example, say pound, right? We're obviously going pro the dollar, so we're going to be looking at it. Let's wait and see. Potentially tomorrow, we might be targeting this kind of an area here. All right. But as long as you understand the direction, all you've got to do then is look for a good placement. All right. To obviously enter your trade on. So and this is where as well using obviously on a slightly higher time frame. You can see here the 50 is this grey blue line here. This is the 200. We're obviously working on that overall kind of outlook here, and then obviously we can pair everything else into it. So that's kind of how I am judging my kind of mornings, because we've been doing so well with the five pairs which I've kind of picked, that I'm not gonna stop and obviously sway. So yeah. Ryan, what are the main things you look for in the news, and what things have the biggest impact and why? All right, so let's have a look at this week here. I'm not sure why my chart is like it is. Let me just filter it all out again. I don't know why this has happened, but it's decided to go back to how it was previously. So I'm going to take all this rubbish away. NZD will take out Russia, Singapore, South. I don't know why this is all ticked on its own here. So that's what it should be. There we go. Apply. Perfect. Right. Here we can go. So, you want to be looking at, there's a couple of obviously, calendars. You can use Forex, Factory, investing.com. It doesn't really matter. You can use either. All right. And then what I do is I change mine from, obviously, I take away the one stars. All right. Because one stars don't really matter. Two stars, to be honest, don't really matter. It's the three stars that, are going to have the heavy impact here. Yeah. So if we're looking at this week, we've got, Monday, pretty quiet. You want to be looking for jobs data, manufacturing data, productivity data, anything that's going to kind of revolve around what's happening. So probably one of the biggest things is, we've obviously got business confidence here for AUD. That's going to have a big input. Let me change my times too, because it's really, I genuinely don't know why this has happened. Let me see why it is on the wrong time frame here. For some reason, it all decided to go. Let's just have a look at my settings here. There we go. So we want London. London, Dublin, Lisbon, London. There we go. Submit. Oh, there we go. Submit. There we go. I'm not sure why this has happened, but there we go. Submit. Perfect. Right. Let's go back to where we were before. Go back to investing.com. Economic calendar. Now we should be back to normal. So, right, let's speed up a bit here. There we go. Right. So, Monday, nothing really, major. And this is where I've been really honing in on Twitter too. You got to obviously try and shut out all the, noise, but obviously, more employment change here. We're gonna have to watch out for a massive one here, interest rate decision or projection. So that's going to be quite interesting. You got the Fed budget balance. Nothing really. I'm not sure why everything's two star. Some of these should be three star, but I think there might be an error here because all of this is all two star. Like jobless claims will be three star. Employment change, unemployment rate will be three star. Everything's ticked up, and obviously that's why CAD strengthened up so much on Friday because it ticked down. I think it went to 6.3%. So we've obviously got to be aware of it. But mainly, whatever you're looking at, look at three stars, as quite a big impact. But what we've got to be judging if you're trading the dollar is looking at the overall, kind of structure of it. For example, we've been, selling it probably from about here. Since this candle here, we obviously flipped from buying to selling. We've obviously been in the right place here. All right. But, again, if trend changes, when we start trending to the upside, we'll obviously flip it, so we'll be looking to buy the US dollar. And obviously then we're going to be looking at different kind of entries. Matt, do you know about smart money concept idea and how to use it, break a structure? Yes, I do. I don't like it. I don't like ICT. Not that I don't like it. There's bits of it which you can utilize, but I just feel it just puts traders in a completely different, mindset. Like trading doesn't have to be that hard. You got to, flip around in regards to loads and loads of different time frames, and yes, everyone the majority of the market use it. The majority of the retail market uses it. All right. The really successful ICT traders that I knew, no, they trade ICT, but they flip it. All right. And so they know where everyone's gonna go and they play off that. All right. What you've got to remember is anyone who's trading in the Forex markets with probably, let's face it, you can probably have in a retail account probably up to about 5 million. All right. Anything over, all right, anything over, you go into a different category, all right, where you're almost plugged, straight in, and there is no charts, all right. No one looks at charts, or they do, but it's a very very different kind of chart. Everyone's. I mean, there is a bit of a myth that this kind of chart work here has been designed for the retailers, all right? Because it, makes it fun. It kind of gamifies it. But obviously, so that's why I don't spend too much time looking into candle patterns and, like you said, breaker structured, fair value gaps. It isn't something that I don't want to sit on my chart for hours and hours and hours. So yeah, does it matter what broker you use on your pairs on TradingView? I've used all Vantage pairs, and I've noticed my pairs are different to yours. It doesn't matter. I would just recommend FXCM probably over Oanda just because they're the most accurate. So I'd recommend FXCM's data feed. Noel, how do markets react this time of year? Liquidity slow as Christmas approaches. Big city decks checking out. What does that mean for retail traders? Well, very, very good question. Um, so so yes, we've got to appreciate trading is, slower. We did pretty well, last week. I think gold we got in about here. You've got to really. This is why I've kind of, got an overall target of what I want to achieve every, session. And obviously when I've achieved it, that's when I'll kind of stop. Especially this time of year. This isn't a year to, or this isn't the time of year to open up and push it, right? It's the time of year where you get what you want, and then January is always a bit. It's a bit like September. It's epic. All right, January's normally pretty good. You got a lot of money, flooding in, new positions, new, year. It is epic, So, this is about setting yourself very, very strict targets, so I would do it, if you're going to trade London, if you're going to trade New York, I would have a session target. It probably wouldn't push it December. So if you hit your, session target, stop. And then, what you can do then is potentially have your, say, your weekly target a bit under your aggregate of your, sessions. That way, say, for example, if you do really, really well Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right, and you've hit your weekly target, you don't have to trade Thursday, Friday. The idea is, not to obviously over expose, because you're going to get a lot of this happen. All right. And this is why I've been a bit more on the cautious, end of, making sure that that we are, positioned here, not positioned here. Where when it comes back, it almost goes to break even, and then it dips down. But that's why I've been a little bit over cautious, and obviously lots of trades we, wanted to enter didn't actually, trigger. So just have that expectation. I'm all about expectations in, life, where, as long as you have got a realistic expectation, December is about just taking what you can, enjoying it, being a bit more patient, not overexposing it, but make sure you're in the game for January, because January is when we can really, let, you know, loose. So, for example, where at the moment we're getting moves like this, January we'll go back to these moves here. All right, and we can really capitalize on it. Yeah. So, just make sure you're still in the game in January. It happened to me too. Have to filter everything again. You have to choose 3 stars too. Oh, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why I've not chosen 3 stars. Hold on a minute. That's why then. There we go. I wondered if I don't even know why it's changed. I've been using this for ages, and it's obviously just decided to reset. But yeah, hi Dan, you keep breaking up. Not breaking up for me. Okay, good. Does anyone have any more questions? Anything you want me to go through? Happy, that's the idea of these, you know, these sessions is, you can ask me anything. I'm gonna probably, like I'd said, never trade, Sunday evenings, because I think one, it's, just instills patience. You don't want to get trapped. All right, there is a reason why they open market up at 10, and it's, yeah, they shouldn't. I used to be that guy. I couldn't wait. I could not wait for 10 p.m. on a, Sunday evening. All right, but you gotta, what you've got to think about all the time, you want to start your week off strong. All right, and if you start it off to tonight, because what ends up happening, say this gap happens, you're going to go to buy from here, but actually you're probably going to enter about here because spreads are crazy. All right, and then just this entry, just popping down a touch, right? You're gonna end up blowing, your trading account, or losing, you know, quite a lot of money. All right, so I always, should say just, sit on your hands, let Asia happen, all right? And then obviously at least then, we need to make our decision in the morning about that overall kind of, macro outlook, where's the dollar heading? Because you might find that dollar, ticks up here during Asia, comes back down and then makes a new high. Yeah. And then we're going to be looking to place here, all right, to then continue to the upside. All right. So, but we need to let this work here happen. All right. We've been really, really strict these last kind of couple of weeks or 3 weeks, and we obviously need to continue. All right, being strict. Making sure that we are on point. So yeah, uh, not a trade question, but tax. Any thoughts on how to reduce it, set up a company, etc., other than move to Dubai? Um, this is a tricky question to do on a live that's going to be recorded. So maybe drop me a message, and obviously I'll tell you a few ways, that obviously you can do it. But the biggest one, I'm not gonna, say it out loud, but there's a an amazing cryptocurrency called USDT. And then there's also cards and everything, which obviously will, yeah, help you. So yeah, there's lots of it. There's lots of information out there, but I think, in regards to tax, in a way, you've got to be making a, lot. So I think it works out. I mean, I've looked into it lots of different ways. Yes, there's the black and white way that everything you withdraw is is taxable. All right. There will be some accountants that'll argue everything that you make is taxable. Now, I don't believe that, because you might make 2 grand today, but then lose 3 grand tomorrow, So yeah, spread betting's not taxable, but once your trading overtakes your income, obviously in the UK, everything is taxable. But there's always little, loopholes and stuff. But yeah, main thing is utilize crypto where you can. Because yeah, there's obviously lots of ways that it can help you, but obviously stay off. I don't recommend being on exchanges, because I think from January next year, the government will be able to view your crypto exchanges to make sure you've got a cold wallet, or you're using, cold wallet software, like for example Exodus, or something like that. I don't mind typing it here. Exodus is one. There's Trust Wallet is another. Um, yeah, so lots of ways around it, but it's good. To be honest, Wayne, it's a good problem to have. When you're starting to think like this. So yeah, does anyone have any questions? I'm here. I'm happy to go through anything. Any questions at all? Okay, cool. Well, we've been, your USD JPY. I think I closed this out. I think I closed this out um in a bit of a loss on Friday, but obviously I closed GBP USD out in profit, and obviously Euro USD I think we closed out in a bit of profit, and obviously AED USD didn't trigger. AED strong The copier is still in trades on AUD CAD and NZD CAD. NZD CAD's here. So I'm pretty sure it's in two on NZD CAD and one on AUD CAD. So let's wait and see what happens. Aussie is pretty strong, so if we do get a bit of a pump on gold, although the unemployment rate ticked down. Obviously, that's what moved CAD. It actually helped, because we're in two positions here, and obviously it closed out. So yeah, good. Um, let's have a look at some more of these. What actually index dollar measure? Not sure what that means, but obviously this is the overall dollar price, all right? And so this is the aggregate price of the dollar, all right? And so it's 98 point 98, all right, but I always recommend to mark up every 500 because those, you can see here, why is this reacted the way it has. Simon, does USD CAD not move as much? Is that why it's not one of your USD pairs you trade now? No, I just wanted to, hone in. You got to ignore Friday because obviously, it's huge news. But yes, USD CAD normally moves, slower. All right. You can see here for 51 pips compared to, say, GBP USD will go the day before. It's just a bit more of a solid consolidation pair. It's not moved a lot more, maybe 10 pips more. And then obviously you've got, day before that, 153. And then the day before that, USD CAD was even less. It was like 36, So you can see that overall it's a lot slower. CAD also, there, you get like, so US dollar, pound, they can, but they can miss the data quite heavy. All right, we're blaggers, and so are the US. But obviously, once you start looking into, macros more, Euro is always pretty much on point. Aussie's on point. CAD is always on point, and like I mentioned on Friday, CAD is, yeah, they're pretty good from a banking point of view because they were, the first economy to technically recover from COVID. So days like this do not happen often. So yeah. Um, Noel, when a trade goes into profit, do you adjust stop loss closer to break even? There's, I don't want to kind of tell everyone what to do. I think holding to a TTP is kind of a myth, all right, which has been bred through this whole industry, and it's not until you start having meetings with you know hedge funds and stuff. They don't have TPs, they don't have stop losses. All right, that they just purely keep on buying until the economies or data tells them that, right, you know what, prices, prices kind of gonna start to turn. We're going to come out. You've also got to look at your overall, kind of your overall win rate percentage of getting price in the right direction. Yeah, so mine obviously hitting TP would probably be about 30 to 40% because well, probably one, I don't hold the trades, long enough. Once I'm happy, once I've hit my target, I'm out, But my my win rate of getting the direction right is probably about 85%. All right. So you've got to work out your directional bias above your, kind of TP. But yes, you know, by b- by all means, not normally I would say if a trade's like 20 to 30 pips in profit, pull stops. All right, because there's no point in taking a loss when you've obviously had that initial impulse of the direction. All right, but you've also got to be realistic, and you got to be like, right, you know what time of year is it? Is price really gonna fly? Probably not, So yeah, make sure just think when you're happy, take price off the table. Um, so it looks like XAU USD will start to go down tomorrow. What makes you think that? All right. Like I'm going to zoom out here. What makes you think that? You can see here, and this is what I mean about trap wise, So yes, last week, all right, we've had a bit of a, bearish week on gold. Not too much though, because prices, obviously had this push up before it's come back down. But look at the week before, all right, it's flown. All right. Yes, we've obviously got very strong support. I'm not telling you that you're wrong here, but just keep your options open. All right, because there is every chance that price is going to fly back into this area here. All right, because if you look at it from a technical standpoint, we're in an uptrend. All right, look where if we're looking at this like daily, it's a bit like Bitcoin here. This is the 50. All right, it's been in an uptrend and it just keeps on tracking it. Yeah, it's not broken it. All right, so. Yeah, we might have a little bit of a pull back, but I don't think there is anything here to tell us that there's no confidence here. All right, not for me at all. Especially because this happened on a Friday. If this had happened on a Tuesday, yes, but Friday, you've got to look at the other, side of the coin where there's a lot of profits being taken off the table, So yeah, what I'm gonna do this week, Ryan, is I'm gonna do a video, right, for everyone. I'll try and do it tomorrow on how the price of a pair is, made up because I've done it years ago, but it's a very interesting video because even things like CAD JPY, right? The price of it, 1123,006. All right, the price of it is made up from USD CAD and USD JPY. Right, everything's based around the dollar. So if there's one thing that you should live and breathe, is this chart here. All right. The only positive thing for the dollar, which is interesting, was yields up 0.995%. So they were almost up 1%, but I wouldn't be as confident to kind of buy until they breach this area here. All right, because then obviously trend is going to start to change. But as you can see here, it's been a pretty kind of, solid trend here. Yeah. But obviously, if we can break this, then yes, this yields rising is going to flood money into the into the US dollar. All right, and then that's going to change our overall analysis into, from obviously trying to sell the dollar to trying to buy it. Any more for any more? We've got 2.5 minutes left. I'm pretty free tomorrow, so I'm gonna do obviously lots of info in. If you guys want me to make any videos up, I'm obviously happy to do it. Most things are in the course, but obviously I'm going to be adding a few more videos in there. So yeah, and if you want me to, for example, even if you've done your own analysis, all right, I want you guys to, send it to me, ask me. And one thing that if you all want to practice, all right, don't you don't have to trade it on a real account this week, but take 1 to 2 of your own trades every day. All right, screenshot your chart. So, for example, if you've taken AUD USD, screenshot your chart and maybe write a few things down on obviously why you've entered it. Then what I want you to do Friday evening, send it to me, right? And then what we can do is I can go through it, with you on Saturday, and we can look at everything. We can look at trading times. We can, really, really. I reckon with 10 charts, I'll be able to identify three of your bad habits, and then you can take those off the table. And then the week after, you won't have them. So but that's up to you guys. I'm happy to, spend all day on, Saturday going through everyone's charts. Like there is 24 of you in here, I'm happy to go through it, and then obviously together we can obviously work on what your bad habits are, and we can make sure that you understand them and obviously take them off the table. But yeah, we're going to have another profitable week this week. So yeah, let's make sure we can make it 4 weeks on the trot. Let's not rush into anything, and obviously, yeah, let's make sure that we stay positive and locked in. Yeah, have a good one, guys.